All right, as I record this, my musical that I'm working on, which is called Jest, it's a lesbian princess musical. If you want to support it, you should check out the links below on how to get involved because it's going to change the world and maybe be up for an Oscar if it goes the way I want to. So, really appreciate your support. But I decided to review a bunch of musicals. I'm going to be doing on my podcast a bunch of musicals as well that are mainly for children. Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, which is what we'll be talking about today, should be interesting. I feel like everything about the show is just like fine. You know what I mean? Like not amazing, not like wow, I can't wait, but like okay television, right? Like I'll fold the laundry to it. I could get why it means some things to people. I think that it took some risks. It didn't fully execute those risks. I think that Jane is stunningly beautiful, amazing, maybe not the most perfect person to play. Skylar Austin, who I've met, is extremely talented. And it's good, but he's very Skylar Austin-y. I feel like he's the same character every single time, which is just a boy with amazing talent that you would give your heart in to, but he always like gets into his head and messes it up. Like it's basically what he plays every single time. But we love to watch it, right? He's still getting cast like that. It's his vibe. That's how you succeed in this industry, is just be like consistent in that way. But we've also got Alex Newell in here as Zoey's neighbor, who is now a Tony Award winning. They are incredible, and it makes me very proud in a way that Alex is the most successful person to come out of Glee, and that it is a person of color, because I feel like Glee never super set that up. Like Mercedes was always a character in the background, and I will talk more about Glee on my podcast. But it does feel nice knowing that there is a lot of racism in the way that Ryan Murphy runs his company. I think that there is a lot of racism in a lot of the gay community just because of the sheer patriarchy that it has to dick suck. Sorry for the lack of a better term, but it is what it is. I'll say what I said. And not saying that like all gay is bad. I just don't think that we talk about in the gay community that is something that is occurring and happening and could be better, right? You know, like that does not mean that we take away gay people's rights. I want to say that very, very clearly because there's so much hatred on gay people. But I also think that we can be open about, as a community, where there's room to grow, and just things that I've noticed, especially being in like West Hollywood, right? There's like Barney's Beanery literally had a no faggot, the word faggot. I'm not trying to say it like it's in a good word. I've definitely used to utterly abused that word as like a joke thing when I was 13 and thought it was edgy cool because I had no education on queer rights or the history of that word. And also I think it was like a weird time of like I was bi and trying to reclaim it. Who even knows who that person was in middle school? But just wanted to admit to my sins just to prove that, you know, gay people are perfect and flawed at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I guess Alex is gay in... That's the thing. I don't feel like it has... Like, the diversity of culture, they don't really go into it. It very much exists in the musical spectrum to me, where I feel like you don't often get a lot of understanding about the characters. But without further ado, let's get into it. And if you want maybe a better musical, maybe something that's not fine, but wow, I can't believe I haven't had this in my life, please consider donating to my musical funds, written by two queer people, my best friend Savannah Manhattan, who is a trans woman, or as I like to call her, a woman, and me, a little gender non-conforming, non-binary, telling it like it is, used to say the F word in high school, and not the F word you're thinking of. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So this takes place in San Francisco, which I've been to, and I love when I can do a review at a place that I've been, because you don't think about it a lot in television, but the place where you set the TV show says so much about the audience that you're targeting, the politics, the barriers that these characters would face. And if you go to the places too, you can talk to, like, if you're in the Midwest and you've never been to San Francisco, you might not even have an idea of, like, what it's like to actually be there. And I have been to San Francisco several times. My partner's brother lives there at this point in time. I'm always looking for an excuse to visit him. So if you ever want to hang in San Francisco, let me know. Let's hang in San Francisco. Because he's a cool dude. And this kind of, it's weird because I don't think that he likes musicals, but this, I would say that Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist does hit the vibe of San Francisco. Like, it is very much there. And funnily enough, Zoey's location office is the same location office that they used in Silicon Valley. And I only know that because I was an extra on Silicon Valley, and I remember that place very well. So it's actually not San Francisco. That's shot in Marina Del Rey, around that kind of Culver City area. I don't know the exact address because they bus us. They want to keep us in the dark for, like, celebrities protections. But yeah, so that is, it's the same one. It's just rearranged. I honestly would say Zoey's set looks cooler. It's also, like, obviously a little bit more present day than Silicon Valley. I haven't watched all of Silicon Valley, but it's on my list. Girlies, I'm getting to it, you know? So Zoey, you know, woke up early that day. She is a very, like, technical person. I don't know that Jane 100% nails this, because there's a little bit of, like, calling her Zoey. There's, like, that kind of new girl Zoey Deschanel vibe of this character, but also she's, like, a little bit more awkward because she's, like, a software girl, which is, like, important to talk about because I think, like, you need the women in STEM representation. And I definitely feel like I've met that woman in STEM representation. I would say they're usually, I want to say, like, slightly more, a little bit more. I would honestly say this kind of reminds me of, like, a director person. So an interesting, not always the lead type that we see, right? The, like, smart girl. There's kind of like a Brie Larson lessons in chemistry effect happening. She yells at old Alex, who's playing Mo, because I think that they're identifying as she as this. But I will try to refer as gender neutral just to keep it clean. But so their music is pretty loud, and Mo is like, I have songs to perform, so I'm not gonna apologize. And that is me as a neighbor, and I'm sorry to all my neighbors in my apartment complex. Love ya. We'll thank you on the tour. You know what I'm saying? So Mo is like, you're not going to know this band because you're a robotic specialist, which is, you know, like, great for, we don't really ever see Zoey, though, work on her work. Like, that is a setting that happens in Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, but it's not, I think, we never really see her relationship to work, just very, like, kind of typical Lifetime woman in career. I wish when they put women in these positions that they would go a little bit deeper. I think that Lessons in Chemistry does a beautiful job of that. Whereas I think Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist has room to grow, but I would also say if they are sticking to, like, life in itself is a musical theme that they've got going on, the homage is then very accurate, because I would say most musical scripts, the characters are not that deep, except mine, so donate. Anyway, but so Zoey's boss, who I love the woman who plays it, but she is absolutely a narcissist. Like, there's just no way about it. Mary Steenburgen, Maggie Clark is the boss's name, but she is a narcissist. 100%, like, just very not their woman boss. And I also kind of just feel like I'm glad that is a character they have, but it is kind of against the tech world type. Like, obviously there are female tech CEO bosses, but that's not the norm. So it's great for the representation, but we don't see, as a tech box, like, Zoey is one of the primarily only other women workers there, and the rest are dudes. And we don't really ever go into those dynamics, which I think are more interesting and are just very kind of scrubbed aside, sometimes not really talked about, and we focus on things that are mostly male-oriented and everything. So Zoey is kind of just a person that constantly feels uncomfortable. It also makes sense because her dad is extremely ill, and I don't know what it would be like to have, like, my dad got ill very suddenly and then died, and it's weird to have a dead dad, but I don't know how I would feel to have a dad that is like on the brink of life in a way that is there and not there. So I probably would be an uncomfortable person all the time. So I think that she matches that. I want a little bit more, but I understand that I think the network is just playing it safe like they do. But I want, like, to me, I'm like, oh, I would be so undone. But Zoey's a coder, and there is like just a little bit of weird competition. To me, it doesn't really go very far. Like, it's very like jokingly played, like almost as if it's not taken very seriously. It's given kind of the Lifetime thing, but you've got Leaf, which is Michael Thomas Grant. He's great at everything that he is doing, but he's kind of like him and this other guy who also feels like kind of a Silicon Valley ripoff, Kapil Talwalkar, who I honestly like, I think, more than the Silicon Valley guy. But they're kind of like the boys crew, and they're like, if you wanted to be a leader, Zoey, you'd like have to be like a more of a bad guy, like you're too nice, which I do agree. I don't think that Zoey is the leader type. Like, I think that Zoey is very, very smart, but it's just more of like I just want to show and do my job. And also that totally makes sense because her dad has a stroke and cannot talk and is literally paralyzed and is Peter Gallagher. Let me tell you the profound fact. If I say this show, my boyfriend mind goes to this guy, and my boyfriend, love him as he is, loves to do the impression of his face. I think that he nails it. And there's a lot to unpack here with representation. Like, should they have cast an actual disabled person? To be fair, I have done no research into Peter Gallagher. I don't know if he's experienced any of this. I don't know that if he has a family member. I don't know all of the things. I don't know if for what the show wanted to do, because they do this on Glee too with like Artie and his disability, right? Like, I feel like they do this on every show. They're like, I'm gonna do a disabled person, and then but they can't be cast as disabled because they're gonna have a dance number that they do. And I would say there were a lot more people, like there are paraplegic Olympian people. There are there are people with disabilities that have the athletic ability to dance. So I don't know why we're not casting them. I don't know. Also, like, with enough coach, you could make a dance that disabled person can do. Like, anybody can be met at the level if somebody is willing to meet them there. So I am always a little cringe when I see somebody who doesn't have a disability playing the disability. Like, it's just like, why? Pourquoi, right? Like, and I get that he is more of a name, and as an actor, you're more drawn to parts that would do that challenge. And I think you can get a tremendous amount of allyship from an actor who has portrayed the disability, and then that can be very fruitful for that disability community, because to be honest, to have the spoons for publicity is a lot. So it's a very like complicated issue. To me, it is not black and white. There are a lot of things that we're deciding. I personally don't love Peter Gallagher's performance, and I like Peter Gallagher. It's not like the worst performance ever, but there is something cringy about it. I don't know if it's the way that it's directed. I don't know if it's just like the awkwardness of this character and the stuck. Like, I just feel like we should have maybe got somebody with representation. Maybe it would have looked more natural and not as like hammy and awkward. And it also is just hard because it's like, that is just like a really awkward person to play like that. It's a person with a really severe disability that they're like losing their light, right? Like, it's like the end times of their days. And I think that representation is very important to talk about, because I think those people probably feel really unseen, and it's really lonely, and you can't reach out for grief because you're trying so hard to make things like ends meet in this economy, that it's just a really hard thing. So I am grateful for the representation of it. I don't think Peter Gallagher nails it. The man has had 7 MRIs. And is going to get 3 more, like, can't use steak knives, like really, really needs a lot of dependentship. And we don't really see, like, we're told rather than shown most of the time in Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. Like, we don't necessarily see the mom, like, all the things that she has to do. She just kind of, like, tells us. And I think that I love the actor who plays the mom as well. I think that there's just a little more level of reality that we could have played in. I get that it's a musical, so you're kind of residing right there. I think it has a kind of similar tone to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which I don't think always mocked. Everybody's trying to do Glee, and part of what Glee worked with is that they committed to their outrageousness and didn't really try to remain in the land of normal. And I think that is also like some of the problems with Glee, but it made like a lot of compelling television because there was no, it was not real life, but it was inspiring in its own way. And I think Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist walk that line of like, they want it to be a little bit real life, but it's not real life because there is this fantastical element walking, and thus the balance is in flux sometimes and can be uneven through episodes. Yeah. So Zoey, like I said, is always constantly an uncomfortable person with that, and I guess just being a girly in tech. And I think because of what her dad was struggling with, she's going to get an MRI. Why not? It kind of seems like a teleportation device. I've always kind of wanted to get an MRI because I feel like my brain is funky, but I just currently don't even have insurance right now. So how am I going to do that? That don't make sense. Anyway, she got something that during watching this, I didn't feel was terrifying, but thinking back on the concept and had they filmed it this way, and I really wish they did, is terrifying. There's an earthquake during her MRI. It's important. Don't worry, because it's going to set up the whole thing that this season is about. Also, maybe more terrifying than the earthquake is that they're playing Bare Naked Ladies, which is like definitely, that's not a song I want on my MRI. I don't want anyone to know what my brain is thinking during the Bare Naked Ladies. And I don't happen to not like the Bare Naked Ladies, you know? And so that happens, and basically, welcome to the plot of this series. Let's talk about contrived. Let's talk about a lot. I think it is the concept of MRI, earthquake, and something happening, I love, right? There is something there. But the fact that she had a playlist downloaded into her brain, she didn't have a playlist before? I got one of those, and I did not have an MRI, earthquake, so I don't really know about all that. So she starts seeing this woman singing alone. She sees girls singing. She's like, that seems fine. Doesn't seem to realize when it's doing it. And there's like, it's weird, like the way that she asks the singers, like it just starts getting weird because she's starting to be terrified that all these people are singing, helping, like asking for oils. And even though this is my dream bit part, you know what I mean, is to just get one line singing, like that is my goal upon goals. But she in the group number is not having a good time. Honestly, if this happened to me, I would be so effing excited. I'd be like, finally, the world is gonna be the best place ever. Everybody's singing all the time and dancing. I can do that too. This is the world I want to live in. I would feel so much better because singing just helps me cope. I cannot stress to you enough the way that I feel when I am singing. I don't even know why I don't do it more often. I don't know why I'm not pursuing myself as a singer. I think because I had a really mean voice teacher one time, and I'm like worried I don't have the vocal stamina with all my disabilities, but this is my dream world. So it's hard for me to relate to Zoey, right? So take that in this review, you know. So she goes and tells her old neighbor Alex, and she is like, oh, what weed is it? Like, that sounds like an interesting high. And she is like, it's not weed, you know, like something's happening. I'm stressed. We start seeing the like misogynistic guy at work. What was his name? I'm going to look it up for you right now. His name was Leaf. Why doesn't he leave her alone? You know what I'm saying? Ha ha ha. Anyway, so she can hear, she'll eventually start calling them heart songs, right? But she can start hearing people's innermost desires. Leaf's innermost desire is his boss is basically his best friend because his mom left him. There's a bug that's saying the blood pressure is basically dead. There's a coworker who she think is the happiest one. You know, she always sees him being really happy and go lucky in the morning, ready to start the day, but he's singing Mad World, which it's never a good sign. When you sing Mad World, you're at the pit, right? Like you're going down. So she's really nervous about her dad. She's like mad she even got this MRI because he's dying of a rare neurological disease, and she wanted to make sure that, you know, it wasn't happening to her too. And, you know, now this earthquake is becoming like a cheesequake with all of this like musical theater numbers. And so we find out from the coworker that is always happy all the time, old Simon, who I love so much, and they don't go in the direction that I want with Simon, and that is also why I'm mad, because my ship didn't work out. Okay, I'm mad and just really bitter about it. It was not the way that it was. And he admits that, you know, like, he knows that Zoey feels like bad right now while her dad is dying, but it's 100% worse when the parent is gone. So like, take advantage of the time that you have, which, as somebody with a dead parent, 100%, even if you hate them, I wish I reached out more. I always regret it. I don't think I'm ever going to not, you know? So just, I mean, there are times where you have to protect yourself. I thought that I was doing too, but you always at least know that, right? Prep yourself now emotionally. So Zoey is hearing all this wish about, you know, wanting to tell HR about a coworker who wants the promotion, and he sings All I Do Is Win. He's very good. And Zoey's boss immediately catches that she's not on her A game and is like, you are slipping, like, let's focus up. And it's like, well, of course, you'd be mad distracting all the time to hear people singing. And so she likes Simon, but of course he's engaged. Boo. See, that's not even, I mean, there's a leeway out of that, but which is, I think, why they put engaged, but still not the most ideal. But I ship them hard, right? I want Zoey and Simon. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work out that way. Get ready to be upset because they are perfect. So her mom is sad, like, feels like her dad, her husband to the mom, obviously Zoey's dad, is not snapping out, and she like just doesn't know what to do anymore. I cannot imagine being in this situation. I am so scared if I'm ever in this situation. This caretaker thing that's so sad. I'm really glad that the show had this representation, because I think a lot of people go for it and like, what, we need to be talking more about this. Like, what do you do when somebody you love is so medically incapacitated and you're not doing assisted suicide, right? Like, that's off the table. Like, what do you do with all that? Like, we need more resources. But Zoey hears her dad singing True Colors, and honestly, acting and all of the, you know, being paralyzed, that song did make me tear up, because it is like, I mean, I think at this point I had also like lost my father, but it is just like sad, you know what I mean, to like think that you're never gonna see your dad walk or talk in such a way, and then here he is in this moment. Like, music is very powerful. And so Zoey encourages her mom to like go sailing, because her dad liked like everything outside. They're solving this bug with the blood pressure thing, and they realized that the watch and the app were not communicating with what was coded. And the one guy admits that like he knows Zoey is like the best coder. And her coworker Simon feels like his fiance is not communicating. And on the opposite spectrum, we've got Zoey's dad grabbing her mom's hand, which is like the first time that has happened in a while. So there's a little hope here. Spoiler alert, though, I don't think he gets better. I can't remember how it ended, but I'm pretty sure it does not end amazing. So Zoey then also learns that her bestie, Skylar Austin, loves her. You know what I mean? Of course he does. He's that pick-me boy. And it's very interesting with Zoey, because she especially in the beginning, always starts like weird about everybody singing, but then like really gets into it, and it doesn't really feel like, I don't know that she ever would be given the way she is, unless maybe she does like music. Like, her character, I think, needs some work. Most lead characters are like, I think, solely underdeveloped because they want everyone to see themselves in them, and you, like, normal people are defined, you know what I mean? Like, they're not very general. Like, people are pretty specific for the most part. The Music in Me song, the camera's really cool in this like art room. I hate the snaps though. I gotta be honest. I hate the little, get it away from me. I don't want it. But she's a good little dancer. There's piano and instruments. They fall, and he of course breaks the humanitarian award, which somehow inspires like a scavenger hunt idea. Mo is like, poor Zoe's friend Skylar Austin, not Mo. Mo is also becoming her friend, but is more so her neighbor. But Skylar Austin sings "Sucker for You," and Zoe's just trying to get like canceling headphones, which, or the noise canceling headphones, which seem useless, because it's in her head, not necessarily just her ears. Mandy Moore, but I don't think the Mandy Moore that you think. Maybe she choreographed this. I can't remember if it's actually her. I'm assuming her. I mean, how many Mandy Moores are there? But the choreography is really, really good. The dance with the love is so good. She's starting to get the show, but she's nervous about her friend liking her because obviously she likes Simon and she doesn't want to hurt him and create like this awkward divide that always happens when you don't have feelings like that, at least temporarily, and most of the time, like forever, because men, they just see you for one thing and then it's hard to see you for something else. So she hooks up her friend with this barista who's super cute and honestly, I think should have became a series regular. I loved her. I don't know. I'm obsessed. So she gets her dad to buzz. He like has this little buzzer thing that he can communicate, and it's like the first time he communicated in a long time. And then she sees her dad sing the mood dance romance with her mom, and she's fighting with Skylar Austin because more so than friends, they're also coworkers, and she doesn't really know how to be his boss. She's like passing out. She smells. She's getting coffee that she spills all over, and she does presentation, but her boss doesn't like that. You would think there would be some slack, but I think her boss is like one of those, I worked so hard to do here, and it was so much harder with the more gender roles of the past, and if you can't even do it when there's not all that pressure, even though there's just pressure in the different way. And Zoe's just struggling. She's like, it's just finding it really hard to like not ask for help. So she gets pudding for her dad and is talking about the chair. And she's like reading her diaries, and worrying about like her first impressions of people. And she finds out like, there are other people who like work at Google and there are other people who are quitting. And Zoe's mom, this one is weird and it's relevant. I just don't feel like they dive in it as deep as it needs to be in this context. And it's also like so soon, like we just established that her dad is not, functioning in the pilot. And now we have this like her mom lamenting with Moondance about the dad, because her sex life is obviously gone, right? Because he's not very coherent, which is a bit wild. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the solution to that, fam. I don't know the solution. I don't know if there is one. It's in that weird thing of like, they're alive, so you can't really like go be with somebody else sexually. I guess you could like masturbate, but I don't know that you can get their consent sexually. Like, I'd be very interested in the way that people deal with that. And, Zoe's neighbor Mo is inspired. No doors will stand in their way. But Zoe doesn't want anything to do with this musical power. especially when she hears her boss saying that she gets no satisfaction. And she's just trying to focus on her own family, right? She does code for her dad to spell out, and he just spells lemonade. And her mom is like super disappointed, right? Because you think anything that he could say, and he just asks for like a drink. Um, and we find out the reason that her boss was saying no satisfaction is that her boss is super disappointed in her husband, who is just kind of like a clout chaser, which that's disappointing. I love the boss's face, acting, energy. I love everything about her. But anyway, she's very much like a thanks for giving me permission to do my job. And meanwhile, she's drinking like 72-year old scotch, like a boss, and is just lamenting that like everything is always on her husband terms, what he needs, and Zoe just like listens, which is mostly like what all of these heart songs are getting her to do, is like be more of an active participant in life, where more so it seems like before this she was just kind of checked out, living in trauma, and now she's kind of becoming a healer, which is like what music does, you guys. But anyway, her boss wants to take her to a woman in tech event. But her friend, Skylar Austin, is getting yelled at and getting called by name. Her boss is like starting to latch on to Zoe. I think also realizing like, oh, I'm complaining about men. I've been kind of serving the patriarchy. I'm gonna get her Louis Vuittons, which dang. And we got Charlie singing Jesus Christ Superstar because he's like, the vibe of that's how he's going. And she gets kind of mad because some people are not going to the office party, and she's mad that they're involved and won't come. But some people are like going to the suite, and now that was like her boss mad that her husband won't go to the office party, and then he's just hanging out in the suite, and now she's got to try to find this like new media influencer, because even though she begs for him back, he just sucks because he says he's going to leave at like 9:30. So she just breaks up with him, does the demo herself, and just felt really emotional. I would say like she did reclaim Katy Perry's Roar, because it was just like very powerful the way, and maybe that was always what Katy Perry's Roar was about, but by the time she released it, she had fallen at stock. I don't know. I like old Katy Perry. I don't necessarily love new Katy Perry. Like when she dyed her hair blonde, I was like kind of checking out. But Katy Perry doesn't live to perform just for me. That was just my personal review of the career. I did think it was very powerful. I would say so far, very few of these songs are like, I'm going to get them on the playlist and listen to them because I love them. Like, I don't care about these characters enough for that. I don't feel like they are remixed in the way that Glee remixed songs that they were good. Like, I think that they struggle a little bit there, but I did like this. And she just tells her husband to stay at a suite for a while. She's got sparkling martinis made by social disorders. I learned that Zoe is also Capricorn, which maybe makes sense. I feel like maybe the reason I'm abrasive to her is because we're similar, and I hate myself. Anyway, her and old Simon are texting, sending meme and emojis, but there's a single lady texting an engaged man before 9, and then we find Mo singing Great Pretender, which she nails because of course they are, or they rather, sorry, forgive that Freudian slip. I think Mo is female in this. I don't know if that was before, but I'm going to try to use the non-binary terms because why not? So they sing Great Pretender. They're also like a building manager, but they deny that they are pretending even though Zoe asks about it. And yeah, then we find out that old Skylar Austin had sex, and congratulations to him. Somebody's getting laid in this show, I guess. And Zoe gets Simon to dance, even though since his dad died, he feels like he can't enjoy certain things. And Zoe's mom doesn't really like know what to do with herself, just kind of in the same position. I would say in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, characters kind of, they are, I feel like stereotypes are not, nothing super deep is happening or unusual. They're all kind of sticking with the sitcom trope, so just don't, if you're accepting for something like drama, gasping, this is not the show. And her mom is just, like, kind of struggling and being like, she feels like her dad is saying to, like, let them go. We got Wasting Away Again in Margaritaville, which is a great song. And it's actually not a song about partying. It's about, actually, alcoholism. So I don't really know how it applies. I guess it's because she is Mo's neighbor, and her name is Bonnie. She's agoraphobic, very lonely. I guess maybe she's struggling with alcoholism, but I don't know that we get to the bottom of it. And all we know is that she's afraid of heights and that she's going to travel to the Caribbean, maybe on the Margaritaville cruise. Great cruise if you've ever done it. But yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I'm assuming if you were in the house all the time, all you would do is probably drink after a while. I mean, I guess you go out and drink anyway too. So I don't know. I mean, people live their lives differently in their house. What did you do during COVID? You know, and yeah. So who knows about that? Anyway, so we got somebody dressed like that at church. Brother's girlfriend is pregnant. We see the dad watch the wedding video and crying. And they find a preacher who is accepting of Mo because of, all the gayness. And that doesn't always happen. Mo's got perfect pitch. Because they love to sing gospel, and I like that her heels clap. And rather than call her sissy, they kind of or too scared to be male, her male self, she's not driven out of church. And while that gay is being progressive, we have a gender reveal party of the brother's girlfriend, and it's a boy. And Zoe's mom is not shy. She knows that Zoey likes Simon. And they all get inspired by Sean and Bonnie, who's going to go on a cruise to go to church and see miracles. And then we get this heart song from the brother's girlfriend, where you have the just give me a reason. That song, not broken, just bent, learn to love again. They slay. It's amazing. I stan. And listen, basically, Zoe's superpowers, this is a little bit like disability inspiration porn, to be honest, of they're my superpower, but really they're kind of a hindrance in a way, because when Mo, who actually is male presenting in this, or maybe is non-binary, but on the wiki, they're calling him he. I'm going to call him they, again, just to keep it safe. But they were not mad at Zoe when she realized that he was presenting male in church, because he was afraid to express himself in that way, didn't want to deal with the looks of that, or if she wasn't tending to when her boss was having that sex I can't get no satisfaction, all the sex issues, she couldn't ignore it. It was following her everywhere, right? It's just constantly, other people will start doing group numbers and all of that. And even though Zoe has the superpower, right, it doesn't prevent everything. When her mom got arrested for flipping out at the grocery store girl, got the lemonade, because she's under so much pressure with her husband, right? That stuff didn't stop. But anyway, back to kind of the whole situation with Zoe's brother and his corporate lawyer wife who's now pregnant and calls her baby a parasite, which I love so much. Zoey is also not only dealing with their drama, but also work evaluations because she is now in that manager position since like the beginning of this. Even though I don't know that she is really the manager type, but we love to see a girl boss winning, you know? So Zoey, like, wrote down her first impressions of people and, like, is gonna read them later, but basically they have, like, all of these work evaluations of what your colleagues had to say. Autumn is, like, able to guess people's drinks and says Simon's is a mouse-called mule and things, and also, is super into like everything Skylar Osterton's doing, but he's like, oh, this is going like so fast. Like, I don't know that I actually want this. And at one point she's gonna watch Maximum Asshole on his coffee, and it's hilarious, right? She would get fired, but I still love it, you know? I honestly wanted more of Autumn in the season. I think she fades out after this one, and she should have been a series regular, in my opinion. I loved her. That's it. Shout out to Autumn. So then Zoey gets really mad because she sees her brother partying with all of her law school boys. And the choreography here is beautifully cool, but it's very annoying that he's like just leaving his pregnant wife alone and confused and thinking something's wrong with their relationship because he's scared to be a dad, but very, very male of him to behave in this way. It's also the year anniversary of Simon's dad's suicide, and things are complicated even more with Zoey and Simon because Zoey has met Simon's beautiful wife, Jessica, which just really goes to say, because, like, I mean, Zoey is a beautiful woman, right? But Jessica's like a freaking knockout, right? Like, there's no way, like, a man would be an idiot to leave Jessica for Zoey, unless pretty people are as unbearable as I like to think they are to even the scale, even though as if I am not unbearable at all times. You know what I mean? But anyway, so Zoey's mom is a landscape architect. She used to do it with her dad. I love it. I don't know really what it means. I'm assuming it's like the landscape of outside. I want the job. I'm mad I haven't been practicing for that job. I want it. I think that sounds amazing. But anyway, she's landscape architecting Simon's and Jessica's wedding until things happen. But anyway, all of the other coworkers are just like thinking that everything's great, even though the one is like crying in the pod and it's not going great. And there is like this disjointedness in Zoey's extraordinary playness where just like the physical world is not necessarily affected by what's going on, and it feels like it would be. Like, things don't seem to affect people, and maybe that's kind of real life in the way of like everybody's in this like bubble, as Katy Perry sang once upon a time. So there's just all of this going on. Like, there's their parents that have expectations that the younger brother is just afraid that he's not going to be better than like his parents, and like that he's going to mess up his own kid having expectations, and he feels crushed by like the own expectations of being a parent. Meanwhile, too, Zoey's mom is struggling to do the landscape architect job without her dad. And Zoey is very sweet and gives Simon this like care package for his grief, which is we should make more of a trend because I could have used a lot of that. And often Zoey's brother is like talking to her dad and talking about like the baby jitters. And he's trying to like not freak out about it and just go and be all in. And yeah, we also didn't talk about how Max also talks to Zoey's dad sometimes for whatever reason. They're kind of close. I guess he like was like a surrogate father to him. And the boss, Zoey's boss, wrote a review to a coworker that, you know, she likes aggressive, and this one coworker opens up about how like the parents had to thought that he was best, so he had to prove that he was her best. And Max ends up breaking up with Autumn because they're on different paths, and they're trying to appreciate like the truth of that. And Simon is just super worried because he thinks that he's failed his father, and Simon thinks that he told him to go, and he's just like trying to think it through, and is just in kind of a pinnacle with that. If your dad kills yourself, right, it's hard to feel in any suicide that you're not partially responsible, and I kind of do believe in a community like you are. When somebody dies of suicide, it's it is a community failing. It's not that moment to be like, well, they had more problems than going on. I'm just, as a suicidal person, but I don't think it's the case. Sorry. I do think we have a moral responsibility to get more involved in care, and we don't enough, and it's because the world is overwhelming. But what things are really overwhelming you? You know what I mean? What thing do they really matter? Do they really matter more than a person's life? I can't say for sure. I can't. But anyway, Zoey hears the dad sing "Do Your Thing." I really do love when the dad sings, and it is very unfortunate by the end of the season because he will no longer be there. Spoiler alert. But he wants the mom to continue the business, which I can get. That's just such a hard thing when all that happens. It's do you even keep going with all of these decisions that you made together? How can you, is that, oh, right, is it safe? What's needed? So, we're all trying to do our best in a very, very messy up world, as Marcy would say. So then Simon sings the "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" which I heard, so good. I think he does a great. This is the number that I remember the most from Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. It's been honestly years since I've seen it. Now that I'm doing the review, because I am just a busy person. Sorry, I never have it together, you guys. One day maybe I will. And then Zoey tells Simon to go, which I think is brave because I would have not been able to resist, especially after hearing that song. And then Jessica wants to talk, and Zoey is scared, but it's just about Simon's dead dad. I hate this kind of TikTok version that the boss sings. It's not good, but it's supposed to show her getting drunk so that Zoey can go be brave or whatever. Incredible, amazing, I guess, just you got to sometimes, right? You gotta do the thing. You gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Whatever works for you. I don't like it though. It's also funny, when you start doing the same songs that Glee is doing, let's just not, let's not do it. It's not, is it necessary? I don't know that it's necessary. So Zoey decides to party with her boss on the night of the engagement party because she just thinks everything's gotten really weird, and she's not incorrect, right? And but she ends up going anyway because it's Zoey, right? How can she resist old beautiful Simon? And she wants to show all the work people that she's fun, and we have this sad scene of Zoey's dad's friend hanging out with him and thinking that he would be the first to go. And some people are just mad about this friend going to the house and saying that things are just getting really tense as Zoey's dad's health deteriorates. And Zoey, of course, makes things worse because Jessica is also mad about Simon going over to the house because it is a little inappropriate and weird. And even though they have this grief bond, there's clearly some emotional cheating going on. And Jessica definitely doesn't have space for Simon's thing. And Simon is definitely no fun. But I don't know what to tell you about dad grief. It's hard. I'm trying to make a documentary about it. It's taking me forever. So Zoey knocks down and makes this flower wall catch fire, which is a beautiful a beautiful metaphor, a beautiful moment of that. Like, everything is catching fire and the love is kind of combusting in a lot of ways. And then Skylar Austin hooks up Mo, who helped him kind of deal with the autumn trauma and get like stop trying to like make things right with her and just kind of just move on and leave it negative, and helps Mo get hook up with a gay guy, very obnoxiously, but it doesn't matter. There's no cars available, and a lot of people don't know what to do because Zoe's dad ends up like falling, which is not good, and Zoe has to get to the hospital somehow. And then Skylar Austin makes her that she gets there and does the 500 miles and like gets her a scooter. And I really like this version of the song, which is very silly. Like, it always reminds me of that How I Met Your Mother scene. And her mom is just like very devastated, like is not ready to lose her husband. Like, it's just sad. It's honestly, I think that's why they probably kept it low key, because there is a lot of like dark things, and I am maybe not of other people's mindsets, because I think people are like, oh, this is so serious for a musical sometimes, and I am going to say differently when I review The Color Purple, you guys. I'm going to say differently, but I think that this could have gone more sad and dark, and it sometimes stays in the light a little bit more, like, and I want more of a darker take at times. And yeah, so her mom makes a silly little love song, like a super emotional love declaration, which is honestly Skylar Austin's same thing with like the 500 miles, which it's so silly, and they made it this like beautiful love thing, and I really, really liked it. But anyway, Zoe's brother and him, they're just fighting over like talking about stuff. I really don't like her brother that much. I don't know, it just really lost me when he was like out partying with the bros. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't date a man. Don't get me pregnant, you know what I mean? And they're also like concerned, like, should Zoe tell like the wife about what happened? The mom singing A Little More Satisfaction is a little bit weird, but I guess it also makes sense in that, like, I can't imagine what it would be to suffer in her position. And she eventually comes around that she has to hire a full-time caregiver because she can't do it on her own. So the characters seem to be moving in a positive direction. We're going to get over our fights. Leaf and Zoe's boss are coming up with an app that remembers names for you, so they will not be stupid when somebody tells you your name and you forget, because I don't know why that is so hard. Like, why does our short-term memory be like, that a name, that's never going to be important, even though it's super important and you need it for everything. And Zoe kind of tells Mo what happened with her and Skylar Austin. Mo is thinking that maybe that she finally got to second base. And just like wants to know, but it turns out that Skylar Austin had a musical flash mob for old Zoe. I love the fake baby mom, really, really great, unsung hero. And she then opens up about how she's seeing musical numbers. I can't imagine having this conversation with a person. It's a lot. And Skylar doesn't believe her quite at first, because that is a pretty wild thing to say. And she talks about see, Tobin is sad about Leaf, and they're trying to celebrate their spell-adversary. And I want to say, I did not say celebrate, I said spell-abrate. So just that is what the show did too. And it turns out Leaf didn't show up for that. And then Tobin is like, wow, his friend is not taking stuff seriously. And Zoe just doesn't really know how she feels. There's a lot going on in that poor girl's life right now. And Mo is like, well, you need to start with how you are. and, you know, like, talk about, like, who you want to hook up with and what all of this is. And real friends, they owe each other hard conversations. And she's like, look at us, you know, we've bonded through your own power. Meanwhile, Leaf and the boss are hooking up, singing Put a Spell on You, and they kiss. Skylar Austin is too weirded out by the news, so he doesn't want to be friends or do movie night for a while. And to make matters worse, Zoe's dad's medication is not working, and so the disease is coming and making him not eat, and this then breaks Zoey, causes her to glitch, so she sings this crazy number, which is really amazing. But she's dancing. Kind of a trope is this show, is they always do a title screen when someone swears. It's like fine, you know what I mean? I don't love it, I don't hate it. She has to give a keynote presentation when she is malfunctioning, which is not great. Then she's saying mommy kissing Santa Claus and is dancing, and it's very weird. And I'm like, I don't know how you would come back from this as an employee. I mean, she does it in front of the CEO. It's real bad. But Skylar Austin backs her up, says that she looks ridiculous. I feel so bad for her. And he's trying to relieve the pressure of an awkward situation because they sing Pressure because Zoe's feeling it. It's very sweet that he helps back her up. And she kind of chirps in his ear and sings I'm Yours when she admits that she didn't think that there would be anybody else who does it for her. And it is very sweet. Zoe's voice is really good. It's kind of a shame that it's been so long since we've finally seen her. But then Skylar Austin also sings her, like, sees her singing I Want You to Want Me to Simon because he was happy when he came into the meditation room, and he gets all pissed about that because he feels like I'm Yours is romantic, and she's trying to insist that it's friendship. And I think I'm Yours is a romantic song. It could be a friend song, but it's you know, rooted in romance. And she's trying to say, like, that the singing stuff, it's not like her in her head, it is like her body that's experiencing it, like, which is kind of a nice thing to talk about in terms of like disability or like having a thing, even though this is kind of like a made up, I mean, I don't know, maybe there is a disability that's like that. I'm not going to pretend to be educated like that. But she breaks it down to that, like, between Simon and Max, one of them is about love and one of them is about attraction. Of course, Simon then kisses Zoey and he's got a fiance, and then he leaves, and it's absolutely chaotic. Tobin is wild, but I love it. He's fixing 25 watches and setting everything to. Her father only has a few weeks left, which is very sad and such a hard thing for a doctor to say. Like, I don't even know how I would deliver that news. I feel like I would hire it out. I'd be like, too hard, can't do it. But Zoe's crying and she like doesn't know how she's gonna live without her dad. And she's like, I think she's better when she's acting dramatic rather than funny. And I don't know if that's just because the scripts allow more of the character people to be funny and less of the ingenue. Like she just hasn't been established as that, because most ingenue leads are like just honestly in a lot of films just boring because they are just meant to be kind of tools for all of that. And man, the sound of silence with her dad and cool caretaker was so beautiful, because they had to hire the caretaker. I wanted them to hire this one caretaker, but for whatever reason they hired this one nurse that was too intense, but it didn't work out. And now Zoe's not really talking because she's in so much grief. And Simon admits that while he does want Zoe, he still doesn't want to wreck things with his fiance. Even though he kind of did no matter what, because he kissed another woman and is clearly having feelings and they clearly have problems. So he's dealing with that confession. People are taking apart microwaves. Angelica Wickie is trying to meet Maxwell, she's like another person on a top floor, so they're trying to poach Zoe's friend in the middle of all this to not even work in the same vicinity. And so Zoe's wife is not Zoe's wife. Well, that would be a very different show. So Zoe's brother's wife tries to get her brother's attention, and she like does pick a bad time to do sexually, but dang, that wife can sing and she should get it. She's very cute with all the curtains. Then Zoe is helping the caretaker, Howie, with his daughter, who is deaf. And the deaf fight song is very beautiful. There's been a lot of emotional, moving numbers, and I really like it. I guess this story is based on the creator's real life. I don't think the musical theater element, but I think with, like, the dad and dealing with that, and probably wanting, like, what could have made that moment better is musical theater, and I agree 100%. Howie doesn't want his daughter to go to Kenya, but she's an independent woman, you know what I mean? Let her go. Very weird. Like, why wouldn't you want your kid to do what they want? I don't understand the control that parents have. I think it's deeply personal. So Max is going to level up in the corporate. He's getting a better job. He got his answer for Zoe with the whole Simon thing. And he's supportive because obviously she's going through stuff. And Zoe's supportive of him. Like, if he wants to leave, like, he should go, pursue what he wants to do with his life. Emily, which is the brother's life, bought a chairlift for the dad because he had, like, fallen a couple of times. She's, like, a big corporate lawyer person and, like, even had the gender reveal party for the dad because she knew it would make it happy even though she didn't care. Simon and Jessica sing Happier, which is a beautiful dance, and I guess they broke up, but it doesn't matter because Zoe doesn't want to be the other woman. And then Ava, Max's boss, and Joan, Zoe's boss, have this rivalry. Max is feeling lucky to be where he was, but he wants more. And then to make matters even more complicated, Leaf loves Joan. Simon broke up with Jessica and is in a new place and wants to date Zoe. But there's still the sad, mad world about him. Simon is not still in a good place. Like, he has a lot of work to do. So Zoe's, like, not feeling it, which is kind of messed up because, like, that's what you knew and you're bonding on that. And then you're, like, shaming him. Like, also I was mad. They were my ship, I was rooting for more Simon and Zoe over the Max and Zoe, but Skylar Austin always gets it, even if his character doesn't deserve it. And Simon brings up, like, there's no time limit on grieving, but I think they're trying to talk about how, like, Simon's grief is making him a different person, and this is a very complicated issue. You see it in the musical Next to Normal. It's just very, like, I don't even know. I do think, like, and obviously I have a different grief relationship with my dad. Like, I've never lost somebody that I was super close to yet. I've been fortunate, like, I miss my one cat, but it gets smaller, and I don't know if that's for everybody. Like, I think some grief does stay with you if you, like, really like that person, because that's, like, the beauty of people is, like, there only really is one unique you. So they do this, like, bake-off for Max. He has, like, a chip on both. The arguing of the boy is mine over Max is very fun. There's so many crossover Glee songs that I'm like, why did we need to recover these songs? Like, there's really no, like, we're just doing it for SEO, I guess, but it's just, or I guess because the rights are easy to cover. I don't know, but I don't like it. Like, I want people to do new songs, and I feel like they just do mainly a lot of the same ones over and over, and it's boring, honestly. So they get to decide who gets to keep Max. The sixth floor gets him. And so he's like, I'm going because nobody cares about him here because he's just being like a mopey boy over Zoe. So I'm just like over it, right? Like, go to Simon, even though she's not going to do it. They get mad that Howie gave her dad a sedative, which is really messed up because I guess that, like, doesn't work with his condition. And he is always just dealing with the, like, are we going to hook up? Were we going to with Max? Like, but the fight is just so fake. Like, I don't know. Max has to get over it. Like, he's being toxic. Like, if you wanted Zoey, you could have asked her out. Like, he has not done anything, and then he just gets, like, mad that she's not responding to, their whatever, however he wants her to go without communicating. Like, it's just, like, what is happening? You know what I mean? Like, what is going on? And the sedative also sucks because I know Zoey's mom was trying to celebrate their anniversary, which is probably going to be one of the last that she's going to have with her husband. So it is rough. It is not going the best for everybody. We're getting close to the end of the season, which is good because this video is already over an hour. You're welcome for all the Zoes. But if you had watched all of it, it would have been more than an hour. So, I mean, I'm hoping that you did watch all of it, because why are you listening to this review? But I don't know, maybe you don't have time. Maybe you're just curious and you want to know if it's worth it. And that's really on your personal preference. So there's just a lot of ambushing, manipulative, hostile stuff. Like, tensions are high. Mo isn't dealing with it. They're already mad about Eddie, and she is like, Zoey, like, they could hear you in Oakland. Like, she is done, which is funny because Oakland is a little out of San Francisco, if you didn't know your California geography. Then there's a lot of jealousy of, like, Zoey's mom kind of moving on from her dad before, like, he's dead and in their marriage. And for the best, Zoey has to take a day off, and because there's a lot going on, baby girl needs to rest, because her dad is going to die, and they're preparing for him to die. The parents sing that Ed Sheeran song where, like, we were just kids when we fell in love, which is very sweet. They're singing at the funeral home, and Zoey's like, she just got to get out of it. Leaf also transfers to the 6th floor because I guess he doesn't want, like, the awkwardness of, like, dating his boss, or wants to climb more and feels like he isn't going to. And it is, like, a weird position to, like, I think, date somebody that you're working with all the time. Like, I don't know. I personally need the space. Maybe there are some people who don't, but I think, like, you just get into a lot of identity stuff. We got Bernadette Peters, who's there. She's feeling good about the funeral, but her mom, like, doesn't want to commit to anything. She hates the fountain. Her dad hates traffic. And Zoey's boss is talking about, like, her own mom doing, and they're missing doing, like, Google Pencils, and, you know, she doesn't want people to apologize, but, like, you're never going to get this time back. So she's just kind of giving Zoey, like, permission to figure stuff out. Like, she's a good boss. I honestly really like this actress. Leaf sings All Out of Love, so he's out over it. They introduce Bernadette to mom, and that's very good because now her mom has a friend to help her who's going through kind of the same thing. And they can, like, bond over that. Mo ruins a cruise ship audition because she doesn't want, or they don't want their boyfriend to go, and sings Issues. I feel like this conflict is all contrived, which is, like, part of most thing, but I don't know. I, like, so disconnect so fast from characters that, like, cause their own drama, even though that is people in real life. But I'm probably, somebody could look at me and think that I cause my own drama, but which is maybe fair. I definitely have, like, anxiety, so it feels not always out of my control, which is maybe also what Mo does, but it's, like, it's just, like, different anxiety. I don't love the actor that plays Mo's acting. Like, their talent is all in the voice. It's not like they're a terrible actor, but I just have never, it's not, like, the height of believability amazing. Like, it's just, they're interesting, you know what I mean? But not necessarily truthful actors. Ava from the 6th floor and Joan decide to work together, putting their rivalry aside. And then they end up finding a beautiful location, which is a cemetery with a tree. Leaf is sending code up and down all week, and then they end up firing Skylar Austin, who just got there, so that sucks. Simon sings Jealous, even though he ends up helping Max. Simon's voice is so good. Like, I'm going to say that again before the end of this video. He's very, very talented. I'm so sad my ship didn't happen, you guys. I'm real mad. So Zoey then hears everybody singing Bad Mood Rising, which I love as a song and something that's not usually covered. Everyone is having a bad day. The CIA is after people. I think Joan's ex-husband. So he asked Joan to run Sparkplug while the company is dealing with all the press. So they get Max's job back, but Max is like, you know what? I don't want it. I don't want to go backwards. Like, no, I'm done. And that makes Zoey kiss Max. I guess that's good. I think maybe she inspires for, like, because she's such a controlled person, and Max is very much like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, kind of whatever, you know? Like, I think in that way they're more maybe complementary, where her and Simon are too much of the same. But I wanted Simon. So they talk about, like, the heart songs in All of Us, and they break down about the morphine because her dad is dying. He can't swallow. And her mom sings her dad a dream. And Howie goes on saying about how, like, death can be an escape from pain. And she danced with her dad. It's so beautiful. I can't relate at all. But it's a very joyous moment, a last dance. And the sad violin of the True Colors got me. And the mom starts off singing American Pie. Everybody gets a verse. Again, Simon's voice, so good, so good. And it's a happy funeral. Everybody's coming together. And that is season 1 of Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. There are 2 of them, technically 3, because there's, like, a Christmas movie. It's very Hallmarky. I will review it. You're welcome. But yeah, that was it. What did you think about the show? If you haven't seen the show, will you watch it? Let me know what you thought of the review, and if you want to help make a real-life musical come true, check out my links in my bio, and yeah, would love to have your support to help bring my musical Jest to life. It's going to take a village, baby, that hopefully not everybody dies in. Once you see the musical, that's going to be so funny, you guys. But yeah, make sure that you subscribe if you want to help make mental health documentaries, as mental health was obviously an issue in this, dealing with grief. There's another donation link too that you could find. And I appreciate you and hope you all have a great time, and see you in other aspects of my channel. Bye.